We hope you like Cheetos, but be careful. They're the flaming hot kind. We know you guys been here for a while, and we want to bring you guys something to get you through the rest of your day. But unfortunately, this was all that we can bring you because if you didn't know, TCU is actually on the edge of a food desert. And just like that Cheeto orange highlighted area on the map in front of you, there are 30 million Americans who have to choose Cheetos over nutritious food because all that they have access to are convenience stores. There's got to be a better way. Hi, my name is Devon Hart, founder of Planit Ponics, and fortunately for me, I had the opportunity as a youngin to get my hands in the dirt and grow a lot of my favorite whole foods with my grandmas, and in elementary school get introduced to concepts like sustainability and climate change, which left a lasting impression on me. So once I got to high school and I was introduced to this innovative horticulture method that promoted sustainability called hydroponics, I was intrigued. So I had to try it myself, and that's what I did. And on the side of my house, in a 4x5 DIY greenhouse, in just 6 weeks, I grew 72 plants on my first attempt. And this is what started Planit Ponics' value proposition. I knew that the applications for hydroponics can make an impact on kids and communities. But what's stopping adoption? Just like anybody else on Reddit, I was going through all the headaches, complications, and learning curves when it comes to hydroponics. The PVC pipes are sore in the eyes no matter where you put them, and the electronic components like water pumps and lights can be very intimidating. So there needs to be something that didn't use no pipes, no pumps, or power. So that's what I did. I created a 3D printable hydroponic system that didn't require no pumps, no power, and no pipes. And I took this idea to my local pitch competition at my college, and it didn't go as I expected, but I still won because the founder of Impact Ventures, Pierre, believed in my vision and saw the impact that it could have and the value that it has. And he went as far as telling me why he chose me, saying that you can't have a food desert if there's a farm on your patio. I took this support and propelled Planit Ponics even further. In the next quarter, I was accepted into the Street Code Academy Accelerator Program in East Palo Alto, California. And by the end of it, I even won their pitch competition. And they said they chose Planit Ponics because Planit Ponics offers real-world value. And by the beginning of 2023, Planit Ponics had accumulated $20,000 in prize money, which we'd use to start building out our prototypes, file trademarks and patents, and expand our team, one of which, who's here with me today, our CMO, John L. Bragg.
And once me and Chris saw the impact that Planit Ponics could create, we just had to be a part of it. My name is Janelle Bragg. I am the CMO of Planit Ponics. Unfortunately, our CFO, Chris, is at a school trip in New Zealand, so can't be here with us, but he's with us in spirits. So there's two product lines for Planit Ponics. Firstly is the urban farming kits. These urban farming kits are the size of a shoebox, and they have all the necessary resources to grow hydroponics. These include a guidebook, which will be tailored to the specific locations and areas of these kids. Secondly is our nutrients. This nutrients is really the bread and butter of our operation. This is like the KFC recipe of hydroponics. We'll be selling them to large cultivators so they can ensure that they use these nutrients to grow the hydroponics. And so there's three challenges that we address that we'll need to overcome in order to grow. Firstly is operations. Secondly is outreach and partnerships. And lastly is how are we going to make the money work? In regards to operations, we said, where are we going to be able to store these nutrients? Where are we going to be able to store the kits? Where are we going to be able to house these kits? And so we said, maybe we can do partnerships with other businesses. And so we reached out to a business called Santa Rosa Garden Supply. Maybe we can do a partnership with them. Reached out to the owner, and in fact, he was retiring. We offered to sell the business. And so we talked to our advisors, talked to Pierre, and he said, let's capitalize on this opportunity. And so right now we're 30 days until acquiring this business, closing on $70,000. This is a simple, sustainable solution to a lot of our operational problems. It makes $100,000 in profit, and it's a grand opportunity we're really excited about closing on. And so the next problem will be outreach and partnerships. Now, I don't know if you guys have kids, but how in the world are we gonna make growing plants, which take weeks and months to grow, interesting for kids? Well, this is really where I come in. At the age of 9, I created an event for kids called Kids Expo California. The premise of the event was to get kids off of video games and interested into creativity and to STEM. We had 5 events over the course of 5 years and accumulated 25,000 attendees and over 400 plus vendor contracts. Now with Planit, I said we can add this to Planit. If we can get kids off of their iPads and interested into hydroponics, even if it's just for 20 to 30 minutes a month or a week, we can add farms to every single person's home. We can end food deserts because the kids become the farmers. In regard to our sales channels, how are we gonna reach these kids? Firstly, we have 3 channels and we'll be able to get our product to market. Firstly, reaching out to educational markets such as K-12 schools and after-school programs. As you can see, we're gonna be selling to them at our cost of around $20. Secondly, we'll be getting our product to online and retail. And then lastly, really the bread and butter is the nutrients. The nutrients is which we'll sell to large cultivators by the gallons, and they'll have profit margins of above 80%, which will subsidize our educational avenues. And this will make us financially viable. And so for a unit economics, at retail for our urban farming kits, we'll sell them for $60, wholesale at $35, cost us $20. Nutrients, which we'll sell per gallon, is at retail for $40, retail for $24, and cost at $5. And so for a quick summary of our financials, we'll make above $900,000 in revenue in year 1 at a loss at just under $200,000. And this includes the acquisition. We'll need $250,000 in funding year 1. And over the course of the years, we'll get additional funding and help us break even on year 4. Year 5, we'll make $12.5 million in revenue and $3.2 million in profit. But the real profit isn't in the money, it's in the social impact. Over the course of 5 years, we will impact and educate over 400,000 students on being able to grow their own food. Over 8.2 million meals will be made, but we can't do this alone.
And on the course of this journey, we brought along some stellar advisors, one of which, as we mentioned earlier, Pierre Rowling, who's already committed $100,000 to our initial seed round of $250. And also, notably, Shayla Gibson, who has founded schools in the Bay Area. So we ask you to join us on this journey as well, as we're seeking $250K in this seed round to close on our acquisition, get to our first revenue, and introduce those kids to the first 10,000 students.
And so just humor us a little bit. If you guys could just taste the strawberries, and we promise they're organic. Do you taste that sweetness? Kids deserve a choice over that sweetness over this crap. So join us. Join us in putting farms on every person's patio so kids can become the farmers. Thank you.
Now we have 10 minutes of Q&A with the judges.
Yeah, I just maybe coming back to the strawberries. What are the primary things that you want that kids to be growing to eat? Like, do you have specific food groups or things that you guys can specialize in?
Well, for hydroponics, any vine fruit is going to be great, but we want to encourage them to grow whatever they want specifically. It goes along with the project-based learning guidebook, and that's going to really empower them to grow what they want. So,
You know, talked a lot about the nutrients being the bread and butter of your revenue. Can you talk a little about, what is the testing process for that been? Is it patented? Give us some a little more detail about your nutrients.
so what really makes the difference is the parts per million for the microbes. There's plenty of nutrients out there, but if we are offering something that's going to be in a passive system that has a high amount of parts per million, it makes it easier for someone who's 10 years old to grow food on their own.
I want to talk about your revenue model. It seemed like the bulk of it was selling to the government, and that comes with lots of heavy regulations. How are you getting past that?
So we actually have a great opportunity in Trinidad Tobago, specifically the Tobago part. One of our advisors, he has connected us with someone who is experiencing a lot of the climate change in the area. So they're looking to add hydroponic farms, and they're not the only people. There's plenty of other people who have approached us, but specifically, that would be more so a government contract because it would be on a larger scale for the communities.
And are you equipped, let's say you get that government contract, you've always heard that growth can kill some companies or if they're not ready. Or would you be ready for that? What size of a contract are we talking about?
We would be starting out smaller. It would be more so like a community garden size, but as it begins to expand, there would be more throughout the region. But with our acquisition, it makes it a lot simpler for us. We would have all of the necessary resources to support them.
So could you talk a little bit more about the starter kit? So is it the prototype you have modeled out there on the slide? And what about the infrared lighting component? Will you sell those products as well?
No, we don't want to sell the electronical components with these kits. We want to focus on a passive method. And with our system that we have up there, it would be passive, like I mentioned, no pipes, no pumps, no power.
Yeah.
Very simple for the kids to use, and it would have a greenhouse effect, and you can grow it with sunlight. And sunlight's the best light for plants.
And then in terms of the plants, are you going to simplify it at first and have maybe 4 to 10 different types of seeds or plants? What's the strategy there?
Yes, we would be focusing on plants that are growing well inside their regions. So we're in California, it's a Zone 2 region, so we would be growing plants that are specific for that zone.
Got it. So when you have like a website that's accessible nationally, you're going to have different products based on the region.
We don't necessarily need to provide the seeds. We can. Where in the kits, it's going to be the system, the nutrients, and the guidebook, and little things like the pH strips to test your water, and that's all.
Okay.
And where are the kits assembled,
So
the starter kits?
for the first 10,000 students, we want to do a lean manufacturing model, having them 3D printed, but eventually we'll be able to outsource that to an actual manufacturer.
And can you explain to us again the reasoning behind acquiring that store? It wasn't clear.
So they have very strong business fundamentals. They have an established customer base. They also have all the vendor contracts that we need, the credit lines that we need. We will also be able to do all the community engagement that we would like to do over there. I'm very active in my community, so I want to continue doing that with this venture. And it also provides us a very well-suited efficiency for our product launches. And then the location. It's literally in the perfect location. It's a post-rural secondary consumer location, so people are driving more than an hour and a half to get to that area just specifically to buy things. But specifically, since it's not necessarily a rural area, but there's rural areas surrounding it, if you're buying things to be gardening, you're going to go over there. And that also goes along with our long-term trend.
So I am so impressed with your level of personal passion and your level of experience. I mean, at the age of 9, I want to encourage you to really think about the revenue piece, because you can't do good without the revenue. And you got to I have the do good part. I mean, that is through the Richter scale. But I really want a good clarity of how are you going to get money? Like, how are you going to do that? I get the acquisition, but I'm not really clear on how you're going to get that revenue.
Most definitely. So the thing is, we're from California, so the only thing that is grown is not just plants and strawberries, if you catch the drift. So, so we plan on, with the nutrients, that's going to subsidize a lot of the other operations, a lot of it. People need a lot of nutrients to grow those type of plants. It's really nutrient-based focus for those type of plants. And so even if you think about it, it's going to subsidize, the educational piece. So the fact, if you kind of tie it to the war on drugs and things of that nature, I think you can touch on.
Yeah, I think you kept it simple.
For sure.
So I guess just to follow up on that question, like, why should I buy your nutrients versus your competitors? Do you have a secret sauce?
Well, one thing for sure is that there's not that many organic nutrients on the market, and for sure, all of the organic nutrients that are on the market don't use BPA-free containers, so they wouldn't be considered organic on the global scale. But so we would be using BPA-free containers, and also we would be making organic nutrients from food scraps, and there are systems that already are in place to do that. And then for the parts per million aspect, there are also systems for us to use both methods to increase those parts per million.
Got it. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.